Oh, yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the OneHub. I have actually a few questions directing to George. And the questions are very directed to more of, how George coped with the challenge and becomes so successful today. I hope that you will find something quite useful for for your future business. Okay, George. Okay, my first question to you. I understand that when you start, creating your business in the beginning, you must have a lot of challenge. So how did you get funded, or what creative strategies did you use to execute on a minimal cash flow?
Okay, thank you, Dennis, for the question. Actually, as before that, I would like to respond to Dave's introduction. Thank you for saying it's a successful story, Polyway. Polyway started 30 years ago as a small company, small business. And today, Polyway is still a small business. So from that angle, okay, we are not successful at all, okay, from that aspect. But however, according to the statistics, 98% of businesses in Canada are small business. And according to statistics, over half, 50% of small business will fail within 5 years. And only about 30% can survive over 10 years. So maybe from that angle, I'm pleased that I would say rather than success, okay, it's a surviving story. And I would like to maybe share some of my experience, how I survived, okay, for 30 years in Canada, which we all know is difficult, very difficult for a small business to survive. And of course, one of the main reasons for business cannot survive is the cash flow. And so, yeah, I have met that when I started, I have a minimum cash flow, that would be really a challenge. But cash flow is not only about not to spend money, because many people might say, okay, cash flow, okay, I try not to spend. Okay. But cash flow is not about what not to spend, but it's about how to spend the money. So it's very important to differentiate between the investment. That means you have to spend your money on investment and control the expenses. Now, initially, I would be difficult because I try to cut down expenses so I don't draw salary. Okay, fortunately, I have my wife. Okay, she works full time. Okay, so I can afford, at least for in this period of time, I don't have to draw the salary. So I try to cut down expenses. But on the other hand, okay, I will also try to invest. For example, I would invest in you have a designer to design my company logo. Okay, it's not many startup companies doing that, but I would say the branding will be very important. So I invest on company logo, and initially it's a risk for me, but actually I do TV promotion. Okay, of course not the national one, but 30 years ago, people still watch TV. Okay, you know that there's a Fairchild TV for the Chinese community. So I do a small promotion, but that helped to bring up the awareness of the company. Okay, it's just magical. Before that, nobody heard about Polyway, but once at that time, 30 years ago, okay, when you have the TV, I feel, oh, okay, I heard about you. It looks like I know about your company from TV, and then I do the radio show. And so that all helped me to build up 30 years ago.
Okay, so George is very humble, and it's all about how to spend your money and brand building, and set priority, right? Instead of just holding up all your cash flow at one point. Okay, so that's very good. Next question. It's a question that I would ask all startup business. Is particularly challenging. So how did you make your first sale, and how did you get build your ability, during that period of time?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, allow me to share a PowerPoint. Okay, so you all see that? You see the logo. Actually, I mentioned about the logo. That time I made a decision that I have to use a professional designer to design my logo. And so happened that he also become my first customer. Okay, because this designer now become my old friend, okay, good friend for over 30 years. At that time, he also at the initial stage of his company. So he needs some office equipment that I sell him. So I think initially it's very important to build the rapport. Okay, so one of the potential customer is the one that you use. Okay, like my designer. Okay. And I mentioned that initially that with that, then I build on. I think many of my initial customers are actually become my old friends. Okay, the rapport building to start will be very important. Okay. In addition, at that time I have limited budget, so I also have to build up the rapport, to build the connection. I also have to do quite a bit of the road show. Okay. Now, like the one that like for the first 10 years, nearly every, I would think all the Chinese New Year, I will have a road show at both. So all the Chinese New Year, I will be standing there and I meet different people, okay, at the show. Many of them become my customer today and my good friend. Okay, so I would say that initially, the initial sales, how you build the rapport and how you're doing the promotion would be very critical.
Okay, thank you, George. So building rapports is a very in terms of sales marketing is a very special topics, and I think you've done something very practical of starting from having the roadshow, I understand that it must be really time consuming and require a lot of hard working during that period of time, and discipline is something that I always think entrepreneurs should have. So what habits or mindsets help you make your success?
Well, we all have to work hard, okay, entrepreneurial, but you also need the energy to work hard. Okay, so in terms of discipline to do exercise, okay, is one thing. You can say I'm very disciplined, or you can say I'm very boring. Okay, so I keep up my routine. Okay, I used to do running, a treadmill, 1 hour, okay, every day. Okay, now my knees can't fail me, but I'm still go to gym and doing Tai Chi. Okay, for the past 6 years, I begin to pick up. And so I would say that's very important, because if you don't have the energy, okay, and you won't have the clear mindset to plan and to think about how would you do the proper planning for the company, okay, then you just become status quo. Okay, so it's important that you have a fresh mind.
Okay. Okay. So George, I assume you have done everything following a good formula. So a good exercise, good discipline, work hard, setting up roadshow, be wise on your cash, but still there are a lot of external factors that you may not be able to control. So we are bound to make mistakes, right?
Many.
Yeah. So may I ask, what was your biggest mistake, and how did you deal with your quote unquote failure?
Okay, I can think of at least the two decisions that actually potentially can fail Polyway. So Polyway may no longer exist, okay, because of my two decisions. The first decision is initially, when I start up, I have a good installer, okay. I want to keep him, okay, so in order to keep him, I offer him shares, so he become my partner. Okay. Now that's good arrangement. But my mistake is I would say that's on my part. I didn't communicate clearly about my vision and my direction. So my only thing is try to keep him. Okay. But it end up to a point, it will be good. Okay, we'll be good partners, and actually we have no problem. But only up to a point that at that time I'm still aggressive. I have to grow the company, but he already in close to his retirement. So slowly, that we have a different direction because he was worried because I'm too aggressive, that he's worried about his retirement. Okay. So that create some conflict. But fortunately, we have open discussions. And I have to buy him out. Okay, it's difficult at that time, but we left in good terms. Okay, so that gave me important. The partnership is very important. So the partnerships are always difficult. But at least if you have a good communication, open discussion, and a good shareholders agreement would be critical. Okay, and that's something I advise. Okay, for all the entrepreneurs to start out with a partner. Okay, you need to have a good shareholders agreement. Okay, to work through with a good lawyer. Okay, that's number one. And the second I can think of is at that time I'm trying to grow, but you know, the chart, I don't know whether the bank are here, but I have to say that the banks in Canada are pretty conservative. So they won't give me enough credit line. And somehow in a gathering, I come across a manager from a credit union. And then he offered me a credit line that actually I wouldn't say it's too good, okay, to be true, okay, but he offered me that line, so I just jumped into it and take it. So, but somehow, okay, like I never default payment, okay, it's not a problem for 2 years. Then all of a sudden I got just a fax from the bank saying that they have to call my loan, okay. And I found that later that the manager made a mistake, okay, he may be too aggressive, okay. So when they have internal audit, okay, and it's not because of my part, but because of they doing something not according to the procedure. So they have to cut me off. Okay, they call my loan immediately. It's only fortunate that at that time I'm talking about report and connection building, and at that time it so happened that I already built up some and I involved in the Toronto Hungers Line Club and begin to have connection with the community. And one of the member of the Lions Club is a CEO, is a local bank. Okay. Now, for that relationship, okay, of course they still have all the due diligence, they have the checking, but at least I got an opportunity, okay, to make the application, and then somehow they take over the credit line within pretty short period, okay. Otherwise, okay, probably Polyway will go under at that time because there's no way that when they call the loan, they freeze the account immediately. There's no way for me to continue. So the lesson I learned that sometimes if things is too good to believe to be true, chances that it's too good to be true.
Okay, thank you, George. So what I get from here is like the wisdom is what you see may not be what you get. There are many you know, things going on, and you know, even though it looks good, you know, at first, it may not be, you know, what you get at the end. And I also think networking is very important, you know, in situation, and actually in all aspects, because building a lot of, you know, friendship, and they will provide you, you know, help, you know, timely help. Okay. So have you reached your your target and where you wanted to, what's your next step of goal in your business?
Definitely not, because I just mentioned after 30 years, Polyway is still a small company, but beginning when I started a company, I do have a goal. I want Polyway to become public listed. So now, it's far, far away, okay? Polyway today, is being a small company, is still far away from that goal. But let me share a picture. I think it's very important to have that goal, because that goal allow me to have a clear mindset of making decision what to do and not what to do. So that's the reason why 30 years ago I decided I need to build up my brand awareness, to build up to have the logo, to build up our internal system that allow me to continue growing. Okay, allow me to have a very transparent accounting system. Okay, we all heard that many small businesses, they have two books. Okay, and you heard about small business that they try to cut corners and with the test, but that's something that I wouldn't be doing and I cannot do. Okay, because my goal is to eventually become public listed. So with that picture, okay, I would say that I have to say that Polyway is still on the ground. Okay, it's not taken off yet. Okay, but at least I am on the right track. I am not on the left, I'm on the right, because I know I'm on the track, because I know where I want to go.
Okay, so thanks again. So it seems to me process is also very important than just the result. Setting a specific target is important, but then you need to start building the process that lead to the results.
Yes.
Okay, last but not the least, I'd like you to give some advice to new immigrants or like other entrepreneurs who want to set up their business in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have 3 advices. Okay, I call it 3P. Okay, the first one is persistence. Now, actually nowadays it's much easier to start up a company compared to 30 years ago. Today, you can start at home. You don't have to rent a place. Okay, the business setup cost can be much less. I still remember when I started 30 years ago, I have to buy those cell phone, the big one, $2,000 just for the phone, and I pay $400-500 to providers. Okay, and the computer, everything are so expensive. You have to rent a place. Okay, it's no virtual office, even the concept. Okay, but nowadays it's very easy, much easier to start up a company. But the thing is that it's also apply to everybody. It's easy for you and also easy for your competitor. So to a certain extent, it may be more difficult to survive. Okay, even more survive. Okay, you heard about those big startup company, but you have one successful story. Maybe there's 1,000 of failure behind. Okay, more than that. So the persistence is still very important to have the commitment. To have a mindset. Okay, it's not just because I want to do it. Okay, but I want to have the commitment. Okay, to go on, and to do that you need to have planning. Planning, I mean, you just not looking for what you see now. You need to have plan B or plan C. Just like the COVID-19 is a good example. What happened? Okay, if something unexpected happens, do you have enough cash flow for you to survive for at least a month, 2 months, or a year? Okay, so that's something you have to plan ahead. And the partnership, to make use of all the connections. Partnership include the business partner I mentioned. We be very careful, but it's also good if you can have good partners. And the partnership also include the networking, the connection, like my involvement in the networking with the organized club, okay, the community, the churches, okay, to build up the connections. And the family connection is also important, okay? I'm fortunate because I have a supporting wife and supporting family for me to do business. So you need to have the support of the family. Sometimes you need to not only moral support, sometimes at times you may need the financial support. So the 3P, persistence, planning, partnership, okay, is some the 3 pieces of advice I like to give to the entrepreneurs nowadays.
Okay, so thank you, George. I understand that you really only a short, you know, really the 20 minutes is not enough time to go through all your interesting stories. But I'd like to you know, leave it to more to raise more questions. So thank you, George, again, and everybody that attending the meeting today.